All right, it's in between. The guys have already kind of been talking about stuff, but I want to get us going. The main thing I want to talk about is, like I said, the Zack Snyder Justice League came out this week. We've all pretty much watched all of it, except for Richard, the last fourth of it, which is still another hour to go. But I want I want to reach into. Well, I want to real quick. Well, just let me set up real quick. I want to reach into, when we get there, how this transpires, what changes, what happens when studios get in the way of films being made for whatever reason. Now, throw out whatever you want to throw out.
I'm just going to say roughly, Richard, not time-wise, but story-wise, where are you in the movie?
They've just dug up his coffin.
Okay, all right.
Which was really, and I think I stopped it because I was annoyed. They just dug up his coffin. So there's a shot of inside the hearse or van or whatever it is of the four of them standing around the body from the outside. So you see the night sky, Wonder Woman, Flash, Cyborg, and
Batman.
No, Batman wasn't in that shot.
Aquaman.
So it was just the three of them. Aquaman.
Aquaman, yeah, that's right.
And I'm like, this is either like a What We Do in the Shadows, start of a dark comedy, or a terrible buddy comedy gone wrong. I mean, it was a horrible shot. And I'm like, I'm annoyed. I got to turn this off.
Okay, so I want to say right at the first, and I think this is almost verbatim what I sent to Sean after I watched it. It is incredibly bloated. It's a mess. However, okay, where to start with? However, it is more coherent, at least as the story it wants to tell, than the Whedon cut. The Whedon cut, there were times like, what? Why are we? Who? What? And it was just all over the place. Now, I don't care for Zack Snyder as a director. I do think, I know you're calling exception to his shot there, I do think, by and large, he can visually be a very interesting storyteller. I think, his construction, I forget which one of the Batman versus Superman or whatever it was films, that tells once again, the killing of Bruce's parents. I thought it was shot visually beautiful.
Batman versus Superman.
Okay. I think the shots in that are very good. And I think visually he can tell stories. He is incredibly frustrating to me because it's almost like some of the Apes films, like we've talked about, where the tone is just here. There's no joy in a Zack Snyder world. No one's ever been happy. We don't see any. It's so gloomy and doomy.
This modern era of DC movies and to a certain extent comic books, like when they launched the New 52, when they started with the New 52, just took all of the joy out of the characters. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't want to necessarily harp on DC's Silver Age versus Marvel's Silver Age, because I saw somebody trying to make that comparison today. I don't need my DC characters to be silly. I don't need them to be in ridiculously bright, shiny costumes, but I do want them to have joy. And none of his movies and none of these characters have joy. We don't get that till we get into something like Shazam or Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman, where there's actually some kind of nice moments. I do like his characterization of the Flash. I thought his Ezra Miller did a good job, and I think it definitely shines a lot more in this film, in his new version of his film. And I actually, the 3/4 of the movie I've seen, I don't mind it. It's just not what I think of as the Justice League to me.
Yeah, I think the fact that this is a throw everything at the wall because I'm never going to be able to do anything again. I think that's why this is so big. If there had not been the tragedy that happened in his family, and if he had actually released this, I think it would have been a 2.5-hour cut. I can see a lot of the stuff in the beginning where Flash can be trimmed down, where Cyborg can be trimmed down, where other things can be trimmed down. You need to take out a lot of the slow motion, because more slow motion that you do, unless it's actually motivated like Wonder Woman or Flash moving quickly or Superman moving quickly, it makes their moving quickly less impressive whenever you're just showing Cyborg jumping over somebody in a football game.
The football game was, we had the moments with the Flash, which made complete and total sense. And then we try to apply the same technique to the Cyborg in a football game. I'm like, I don't care.
It diminishes what the Flash does. Yeah.
Correct.
Well, I even thought with the Cyborg characterization, and I know very little about that character, of the DC characters, probably more to the side for me. But if I want to feel his pain, I need to see the potential for happiness. And I don't even have that. I don't see how he's brooding from the get-go. And I want to really call out, what was his name, Ray Fisher? Is that his name?
Yeah, yeah.
I think he does the best he can with that. And, you know, you really go into the story of how this film's made and all the problems he had with Joss Whedon. My heart breaks for that guy. He went through a lot of shit.
His character got totally shafted in the theatrical cut.
But at the same time, I look at what Snyder did, and I think, well, you didn't exactly set him up for anything else. I think that when you have a character that is going to miss a father being there, we need to see the potential for him overcoming things that somehow when he gets there, it's still not there because the father's not there. That shot in the football game when the seat's not there, I literally felt like somebody had taken a hammer to my head and gone, guess what? The dad's not there. Bam, bam,
here's
bam.
emotion, yeah.
So this is my husband had asked me last night about whose character, Flash's character, when he went to go visit his dad in jail because his dad was accused of murdering his mom, even though it wasn't his mom,
or he didn't kill his mom, yeah.
Right, and so Chris had asked me about that origin, and I said, you know, that's something that was created in the 2000s. That was not Barry Allen's original origin. His parents were alive. Green Lantern did not have his dad blow up in a fighter pilot plane when he was a kid. Green Lantern was just given a magic whistling ring. And somehow Jeff Johns in the 2000s, and particularly with the New 52, they decided to come back and give every single one of their characters a tragic origin.
Yeah.
And I'm so you look at every single one of those characters on the film, and every single character's mother, with the exception of Wonder Woman, is dead. What I don't like about the modern DC universe and a lot of the Marvel characters,
Superman's mom is still alive.
His original mom, she's dead.
Oh well, okay.
Technically, his parents died.
Martha.
So we're dealing with this whole thing where these characters are. Can anybody just catch a break? I mean, this change in the universe is so dark. Can't we have normal people without having to have any type of like horrid parental issues? I mean, this is like Pixar films gone wrong.
Well, I mean, yeah, but the hero has to have a tragic beginning. Otherwise, you know, hey, if I'm just happy-go-lucky and I'm going out there to beat up bad guys, then I'm just a fucking sadist.
But I mean, it's not the Justice League. It's the orphans meetup. It's the orphan support group is what it is.
Well, I think that to this point, let's talk about.
Sorry, I'm totally derailing this.
It's my job to keep us going somewhere, and I'm going to take us back to this because let's talk now about studios and what they want. Marvel. I think Marvel deserves beyond applause for the world they created, and not just because so many films work. There are struggles within the Marvel universe of films that are just lay there like a turd. That the second Thor to me is still, oh my God, ponderous, and just hated that movie. However,
second Iron Man too.
Yeah, that's true. That one stumbles as well. What they did so beautifully was to have an idea of how let's tell this so we can get to this point. Like we can have our Avengers thing. Let's build this world. Let's pepper in the things. DC wanted the end of the race before they began it.
Yeah, they wanted to jump to Avengers with their third movie and not having anybody else established. Which this movie actually feels like it's trying to do everybody's origin story that they would have done in their own movie as part of this movie, so they could have skipped that part and have the Justice League. Well, it's like we're doing many movies to begin with.
And to that point, okay, let's talk about how movies get greenlit. It isn't just, hey, we want to make a movie, go make it. They're gonna toss this out. When they looked for Christopher Nolan to do the Batman films, he was not just selected. They were taking pitches from numerous people. How would you do Batman? Darren Aronofsky threw something out. He almost went down the path of creating it. Eventually goes to Chris Nolan. Well, the Zack Snyder thing is not just let's get Zack Snyder. It's going to be that they're talking to numerous filmmakers. Eventually,
we almost got a Tim Burton Superman at one point.
That's right. And eventually what's going to happen is Zack Snyder makes the Batman v Superman stuff, and he gets to this point. Even at that point, he's already made films. He still has to deliver a script that gets greenlit based upon what's it going to cost to make this, what's the release strategy, what is it. This is a 4-hour film. At some point, roughly 240 pages worth of script were given to someone to greenlight. They may have said in his contract it's got to be cut down to 2.5, 245, but still they greenlit this. And
think about it. There were supposedly like very little reshoots for this. So and they used nothing that Joss Whedon shot. So everything you see was stuff that they had already shot for this movie. It's not, while it's new for us to see, it is not new footage that they shot this year. Last year.
So for the studio then to come in and say, well, what were we supposed to do with 4 hours? Well, this is darker than we expected. Fuck you. You read the script.
You read the script.
You knew what the tone was. You knew
you
what
saw
his
dailies.
propensity for what. Yeah, you saw dailies. You saw all of it. And this is where I get into, again, with the Apes films. The Apes films studio interference is very different. They didn't understand how franchises work. You start realizing our returns are lower, so we're going to start putting less money to it. Therefore, your quality goes down. This is a studio on the flip side of it throwing a shit ton of money at it. Then are they not invested enough to know what they're investing in and say, this is what we're going to get, and now we want you to fix it? Kind of screw them. You knew what you're getting. Zack Snyder tends to make these films, even the 300 is kind of got this same tone to it, dark, very little joy in the world. And by and large, that worked for that movie.
And I'm sure, when Joss Whedon came in, probably part of the reason why you see so much new footage is because contractually he has to have his name as a director. He probably has to contribute so much of the footage to it. So that's why they have the family stuff that in the Raceland. I'm so glad they got rid of that. All the Superman, you get none of the weird Superman baby face stuff, weird lip stuff. None of that's in here. I mean, Joss Whedon has a totally different sensibility than Zack Snyder. How do you come in there as a director and say, yeah, I'm going to Frankenstein shit together to make it a weird movie that I'm going to be happy with putting my name on?
I also
probably just got a paycheck. I mean, he got a paycheck and the opportunity to potentially do stuff in the Warner Brothers universe. Just like
DC stuff.
And apparently he was still so upset. According to Ray Fisher, he was still so upset about Age of Ultron and its reception that he felt like he was going to step in and show them what's what with this.
Now, had he already been? Was this before his Wonder Woman pitch or after his Wonder Woman pitch? Because he was supposed to be Wonder Woman originally.
After. Oh, this is way after. Yeah.
Okay.
That was a while ago. Him talking about Wonder Woman back when I was doing stuff with Fanboy Radio. Yeah.
And then out of this, he also for a while got the toss of doing Batgirl.
Yeah, that happened for a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
And now they've taken that. Obviously, they've taken away and given it. I forget what the woman's name is that they gave that to. But studios getting in the mix of this, I do understand that tentpole films like this.
There have to be dates, otherwise nobody would ever finish a film. There has to be a budget, otherwise you'd never stop shooting.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're going to have those people, but to me, you need to have a creative, and obviously they do, a creative director over film production. There is a head of film production that then has creative teams. Man, if you can't pull together, let's look now what Star Wars is building with the streaming stuff, Mandalorian, the Book of Boba, whatever, all these kind of things. They're now starting to find an identity. But again, that's a Disney property, just like Marvel. They've got this idea of how do we churn this. And it did take Star Wars a while to get there. DC has got to look and say, to me, they're wasting themselves with the TV, the CW versions of all the superheroes. They're fine, and there's joy in that. The Grant Gustinson or whatever his name is, Flash, has joy and sweetness.
Well, Ezra Miller did show up on Flash as the Flash, so technically the CW is part of the multiverse.
Well, here's what I think. I just wonder how long Warner Brothers is going to look at CW and those properties as separate entities. When you look over what Disney's doing with Marvel and Star Wars, they're changing the game, and DC is going to continue to get slapped in the face the more they bungle around like this.
But that being said, DC is also in some ways taking bigger chances with things like Titans and Doom Patrol, where they're doing R-rated adult material with their stuff that Marvel isn't doing currently. Deadpool will be folded in eventually, but that was not part of the Marvel universe proper. And I hear Moon Knight and stuff might be more adult oriented, but DC is taking some chances with their non-theatrical stuff that Marvel isn't doing.
I definitely agree with that. And just out of curiosity, I've not watched Titans. Is it even worth the time?
If you want to